Alright, Infernal Blessings. Alright, back with another video. I had to position this camera a little different. I'm in my other car. Anyway, quick announcements before I begin. Again, for those that are interested in taking classes, as I say, I always get emails. How do I sign up for your classes? What type of classes do you offer, etc., etc. Go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, B-A-N-I-T-I, patreon.com/Baniti, B-A-N-I-T-I. Tier 3 is the way you want to go, okay? Tier 3 is the way you want to go. If you sign up for Tier 3, that gives you access to all of the 3 monthly classes that I do every month on Patreon for Patreon members only. It also gives you access to the monthly ritual that we do as a group. If you are interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, or readings that I offer, Klapothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, which, as I've said, is a great place to start when you're looking for a sense of purpose or a sense of direction. What kind of work should you be doing? What you should be focused on? Shadow work readings going to help you with that. Deity readings, which assist you in what kind of spirits or energies or demons that walk with you to further help you along your path to self-mastery and to further help you establish a stronger relationship with the spirits. All right. Also, 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. If you want to sign up for that, that is open and available. You can reach out for any of the aforementioned. Send me an email at khnum19@gmail.com, and I will get you that information. Okay. Also, a lot of these episodes that I'm uploading, and plus some content, I'm transferring some content of the YouTube videos into audio files. And I've uploaded all this new content plus some existing content on the Primordial Chaos podcast. All right, so if you're just looking for an audio version of some of these videos, which is good if you just want to put them on in your headphones, listen to it in your car, that's an option. You can find my podcast, Primordial Chaos. It's on pretty much most podcast platforms, Radio Public, Spotify, Amazon. I mean, pretty much wherever you can find podcast, you should be able to find it. Again, that's the official Primordial Chaos podcast. Again, I'm loading all this new content that I've been putting on there in audio files. Plus, I'm going through some of the YouTube videos, not the long ones, more so the shorter ones, and posting. Going to add that content. So there's a lot of content too now on the podcast platform. So I encourage you guys to go there and check that out if you're just looking for audio files of some of this new information. All right. Having said that, what I want to talk about today is the black path of Shaitan, or the black path in Eastern mysticism. What is it? Right? Well, in Eastern left-hand path, occult mysticism, whether you're dealing with the practice of the Sufis, whether you're dealing with the practice of different orders of what we would label Order of the Assassins, which are various orders that work with sorcery, witchcraft, magic, the jinn, which incorporates all those elements, right? It's another form of connecting with the adversary through names or titles he's referred to as Shaitan, right? The adversary. You will also hear another term. You could even find this in the Quran, but you will also find another Arabic title for the adversary as Iblis, the rebellious one, right? Now, these are titles, again, that are misconstrued, that people don't really understand, and religious people look at negative because they hear the terms and what they mean, and they are basically passing that judgment based on being religiously indoctrinated. So you're just, again, you're using terms from the culture of the people, in this case, Arabic being that cultural language that's being used to identify the title or the name that the adversary is referred to as in that path. Now, the black path, right, if you've heard this term before, it's the darker path when you get to that region of the globe, because it infuses elements of different systems, just like there's an influence with Hebrew mysticism, like working with the Goetians or working with the Clip-Hop. You are going to have that Sufi slash Islamic elements to this path too. It's there, and it's a beautiful thing when used on a more occult left-hand path practitioner. The one thing that I love about the black path of Shaitan and working this type of system, Eastern left-hand path, occult mysticism, whatever you want to call it, whatever title you want to give it. One thing I enjoy about this path, it involves real heavy, which I'm big on anyway out the gate and always have been. It involves the use of what they call a lot of thickering and mantras and chanting. Now, I incorporate a lot of that in general in my ritual work outside of working this particular system, because I am big on the science of sound, vibration, frequency, and tones, and how that elevates one's psyche and opens one up spiritually to a large variety of spiritual experiences is the best way I can explain that. Huge. So I'm big on that. And this path incorporates a lot of thickers, mantras, chants, and in that repetitive, whether you're doing it yourself or you're doing it in unison, there is multiple aspects of awakening the psyche in that. A regular practice that I do, which was today, Friday, I do every Friday morning, I have a regular ritual practice that takes about 10 to 15 minutes where I connect with the adversary of Shaitan. I use some surahs in the Devil's Quran. After I'm done with that, I incorporate some thickering, a couple of mantras and chants, and I will read from the Song of Set. I've mentioned this before to you guys. And sometimes if I'm inspired to utilize other works or writings, I will. But I use that format on Friday. Now, one thing I do is to balance out a harmony, because on Friday, as we know, the lying God of the Bible and the Quran has their daily Friday Jumu'ah or gathering service. So it's something I kind of do. That's the antithesis to that, and I do it by myself. I have some ideas later down the road that I do want to incorporate with that in a group setting, but I'll speak on that at another time. Okay? But that practice of thickering and chanting, when it's individual and you get into a repetitive state, when you're locked in and doing it by yourself, it puts you into states of transcendental meditation, spirit possession, yes, when you're really locked in. And again, it opens up the psyche to receive an influx of thoughts, visions, and messages. And you really connect with the spirit world, with the demons, the jinns, with Shaitan, or Iblis, however you want to refer to it as. And over the years, it has given me serious growth on this path. And it's, as I said, as we navigate on this path, there's going to be certain systems we gravitate to more than others. We're going to have more of an affection for certain paths and deities and systems. And that's just normal. And this would be one of those paths that I would clearly make the claim that probably has a more personal connection to than some other systems. Okay? Now, when you're using the mantras, the chanting, and the thickering in a group setting, it's a different experience. And here's why I say that. I've mentioned this before over the years, but let me run through it again real quick. When you start to hit in a group setting and you're doing a mantra or a chant, and you start to hit a certain tone, vibration, and frequency in unison, what you literally do is you open a porthole that beings can come through from other dimensions like the jinn and join you in that mantra or that chant. And individuals, if they're really locked in, they can actually tap into the frequency and the vibration of those spirits. Some can lead to spirit possession, messages, things of that nature. But what tends to happen is, and a lot of people describe this, one thing that's very similar across the board that people always describe is after a while, there could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people doing this in a group. But they all say the same thing. It sounded like there was thousands of people there chanting with us. And there was, because you opened that doorway, that gateway, and you created a bridge for those entities, spirits, jinns, demons, to come through and take residence with you for that ritual or that ceremony or whatever you want to refer to it as, that chant circle that you were doing. So this system is very big on sound, vibration, frequencies, and tones through the pronunciation repetitively of, it could be a name, the name of a spirit. It could be a phrase that invokes the energy of the spirit, which we utilize a lot in a lot of the ritual work on Patreon, not just for this path, right? At the end of the month, as the recording of this video, which is, I believe today is what, the 11th? Just so in case somebody watches this video later down the road. As the recording of this video today, August 11th, 2023, at the end of the month, the last Friday of this month, I'm not sure what that date is, but the last Friday of this month, we will be doing a thicker circle ritual, right? Tapping into the various mantras and chants that a lot of these assassin orders that practice this system utilize. So it'll be various different mantras and chanting and invoking the jinn and connecting with the power of Shaitan / Iblis, the rebellious one. Now, this story of Iblis or Shaitan, a good historical reference to some of the foundational precepts of this path, would be going back into understanding the histories of the Yazidis. The Yazidis and the Al-Jiwa, the Black Book, which has the story of the form of the adversary. It mentions the jinn, Iblis, in the form of the peacock angel, Melek Taus, right? When we just not too long ago did a ritual with the peacock angel, Melek Taus, right? And they believe the adversary, or who we're calling Satan, the devil, Lucifer, the different titles that people sometimes mix up and don't understand. When you read in their culture, their tradition, and in their quote-unquote holy book, if that's what you want to call it, they believe that this Iblis, this Melek Taus, this adversary that we call Satan or the devil, right, was given caliphship, which is the Arabic word for rulership, over this planet. That he is the one that's responsible or was left in charge after the creation process. And they believe that story that you read in the Bible and the Quran of Iblis or Shaitan or Satan the devil refusing to make obeisance or bow down to the creation of Adam, they make it sound like an evil, rebellious story. And it's not. It's not evil, it's not rebellious. The Yazidis look at it as Iblis not surrendering his divinity to something less inferior to him. Where the Christians and in religion, they say that made this being Iblis or Satan, the devil, evil because he was disobeying their narcissistic, monotheistic God who demands to be worshipped and who demands to control and demands respect. So when you read the story, Iblis says, why should I bow down to something that's inferior to me? I'm created from the most powerful, one of the most powerful elements in nature and creation, fire. This is an individual that's created from dirt, from mud, right? So the symbolicism is there is, I'm the one that's more superior. So why are you suppressing me to make obeisance and bow down to something that's inferior to me? So the Yazidis look at that story as it was a test for Iblis not to bow down and surrender his divinity, where Muslims and Christians look at it the reverse. They look at it as Iblis was being disobedient to God, right? And then when we read the story in Revelations chapter 12, we see there was a war in heaven. That the devil and his angels fought against a being called Michael or Michael, who takes on interesting character types through different pantheons. Very interesting. I'll talk about that another time. So it says Michael or Mikael, he who dares to be like El, which is the translation there. Who is El? El or El Elo is your monotheistic God of the Bible and the Quran. He steps forward and his army does battle with Lucifer and his army, right? And then we see Lucifer takes residence here after refusing to bow down, and it says he was cast out and came down to earth, right? This is also the connection in Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 where it describes, and there was giants in the earth in those days, and they came down and saw the daughters of men, and the daughters of men looked fair to them, looked good, and they came in unto the daughters of men and produced children with them, right? So you have these Nephilim, as it says in the Hebrew, these giants who came down and came into the woman that were on the planet and had children with them. The reality is some of us are byproducts of those children. So the seed of Lucifer has been walking this earth since the very beginning of creation. Okay? And the reality is this is how some of you got here. Now there's different paradigms to explain this, different doctrines and dogmas, right? But I'm focusing on this path for this particular video. So that seed of the serpent, the seed of Lucifer, has been here since day one, right? And it goes back to a race of beings that really you can't put a time frame on. So what we do predates any monotheistic religion. Because as we know, monotheism, the oldest it can be traced back in Judaism, is just a little bit over 6,000 years old. Christianity only being a little bit over 2,000 years old, and Islam being the baby child of all three is just a little bit over 1,400 years old. Right? We're working with a system that goes back eons before that. And put whatever time frame you want on it. Shit is irrelevant. You can say millions, thousands, whatever you want. That's not the important thing. So the Yazidis and the Black Path is about connecting with the ancient gods and goddesses that have always been here. Lucifer, Shaitan, Aramani Bliss, all these different titles we hear on the Black Path are not who people think they are. Especially from somebody who's religiously spooked out and indoctrinated, because they've been programmed by religion. Because the devil is the monster on the hot sauce bottle with the pitchfork. You know, some people believe in that fucking stupidity, unfortunately. Okay? So that's not what it is. And we need to be clear on that and understand that, because the reality is the only way you break the spell of religious indoctrination, you have to remove the religious programming of a lot of the information that they programmed us with over the years, starting as a very young child. That has to be removed. And that's why you study. That's why you research. That's why you're here on this path, right? To remove that. So this system really incorporates connecting with Lucifer in his ancient form. When you talk about the seed of the serpent and the seed of Lucifer and connecting to your divinity and to the ancient gods and goddesses that walked this planet eons ago, that's what you're doing, okay? Don't look at the understanding of the adversary through the eyes of religion, because religion has infused in it a lot of mythology, a lot of false information, and they've put their little twist on it to make themselves look superior. And that's not the case, people, okay? It's not the case. We can't be deceived and fooled by this, okay? So, as I was saying, at the end of this month, we will be, for those that are on Patreon, and if you're not on Patreon and you want to participate, you need to sign up. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3, will give you access to the 3 private classes I do a month and the ritual that we do every month together as a group. So this month we'll be focusing on various different mantras and chanting to connect with the mask of the adversary. Again, Iblis, Shaitan, the Jinn, various different spirits, some individualized by name. And it's a very, very powerful and intense awakening ritual ceremony. It incorporates the connection with the black flame. I'm more than likely, and I think I have Brother Mike with me, I'm more than likely going to have some elements of drumming connected to this ritual, because the drum in certain aspects of this ritual is a very powerful tool used in ritual work in many different systems. Music, as we know, and the tone and the vibration and the frequency of the sounds of music, especially the drum, invokes and draws the presence of these spirits to you. This is why even in traditional African spirituality like Ifa, this is why the drums are used in a lot of the bimbays or a lot of the ritual work to connect with the Orisha. I mean, it's so deep to the point in that system that there is a group of drummers called the Bata drummers that have to be educated, schooled, and initiated and learned to a certain degree before they can play for the spirits. So music and drums and sound and certain instruments has always been a big element that has been used in this path to connect. Shakers, which I know we'll definitely be using that for this ritual, and a set of thicker beads. You will need your mantra or thicker beads to participate in this ritual. This path, to me, there is an ancestral connection there, and the reason why I say I have a deeper affection for this path, it stands out more than maybe say some other paths, is because I could feel the bloodline and genetic connection for me. Having roots with ancestors from the Mediterranean, Northeast Africa, and parts of the Middle East, Egypt, etc. When I did my DNA, and you see the migration of how those people got from Northeast Africa, parts of what we're calling the Middle East, into the Mediterranean, Southeast Mediterranean, below Sicily and places like Cyprus, Sicily itself, Malta, and other places, and then making its way to America. And I have those, quote, Arab roots. There's a spiritual connection there. So it feels like home to me, because at one time years ago, before really embarking into occult mysticism, I was a devout Muslim for a while. I practiced Islam for several years. But Sufism, which I was a part of a Sufi order years ago, while I was heavily into Islam, Sufism always had my attention years ago. Sufism I was always captivated by the energy and the frequency of it, the feel, the whirling dervish always mesmerized me, the chanting, and how the Sufis linked up and were able to use their body, their mantras and their chanting to invoke the presence of the spirits. It always fascinated me. It was always incredible to me. So it feels like home because I feel a deep ancestral lineage or connection to it. That's me. To some, you may not get nothing out of the path like some other paths. But it's a beautiful path when you really understand it. It involves high forms of meditation, chanting, mantras, deep introspecting of connecting with creation, with the gods and the goddesses, the ancient gods and goddesses on this path. And it's just a strong feel of mysticism, like that bridges the gaps from eons. It's the best way I can describe it in as many mortal words I can use. But I would definitely encourage those who are maybe interested in exploring this path further to take a look into it, to see if it's for you. Now, we also do have on my Patreon, the Primordial Chaos Patreon page, we do have an ongoing series of classes called Eastern Left-Hand Path Occult and Mysticism class, right? We have an ongoing series where we focus on pretty much all the elements I'm talking about in this video here. That is our focus. So I'm putting that out there because if you come across this video and say, well, how can I learn more? I am interested. I do want to look into this further, etc., etc. That would be a good option to get in on tier 3 on the Primordial Chaos Patreon page. And it will give you, obviously, access to all the other ongoing series and classes. And there's a lot of stuff on there. Trust me when I tell you. There's a lot of content. And in addition to what I'm constantly now putting on the YouTube and what I'm putting on the podcast now. And again, I want to remind everybody, all this new content, these last 10, 11 videos, I've uploaded them to the Primordial Chaos podcast, which is pretty much, you can find it on Spotify, Podcasters, Radio Public, iHeartRadio. I mean, wherever they have podcasts, you should be able to find it. I am also going through select videos on my YouTube page over the years, and I'm going to convert a lot of those videos into audio files and put them in podcast form to give you guys another option to have the audio of it. Maybe you're in your car driving, you just want to listen. Maybe you're in the gym, or maybe you're taking a walk in the park. So now I want to give people the option where they can actually just listen to the audio of it. You don't have to get distracted by looking at my ugly mug, because it's more important what I'm saying than visualizing. But we need both. So we'll have a lot of these videos in video form, YouTube, and we'll have them in audio on the podcast. All right, so check that out. But yeah, if you want to explore this path further, that's what I would encourage. Now, there's a lot of books out there on the Jinn. There's a lot of books out there on the Black Path. There's a book called The Black Path. That's a good book that I've referenced to you guys over the last couple years to check out. Check out The Devil's Quran is another good book. I will, though, warn you, like I have to put a disclaimer. The jinns, and if you're going to do some of the work in there, and I know some of you have been working with the jinn over the years, so I'm not talking to you guys who might be a bit more experienced. Jinns are spirits that do like to linger around, okay? If you're invoking the presence of jinn, understand the classes of those jinns, the Ifrit, which is a very volatile class of the jinns that I talk about a lot. When you're invoking them, when you're done working with them, make sure you clearly send them back to where you invoked them from. Make that declaration a statement, because if you've pulled them, say, through a black mirror or a porthole, and you don't send them back when you're done by simply saying, I am now done communing with you, I am sending you back such and such, and you just close the ritual out and leave them at your altar, in your space, etc., you could be creating a lot of conflict and disturbance in your living domain and in your spirituality, in your presence. So there are spirits that do like to linger around. Now remember, these jinns, you've seen stuff over the years, you've read movies try to portray it. They cross the barriers of time. You're working with ancient entities, again, that don't fool yourself and try to put a time frame on them, because it's going to get you jacked the fuck up. It's going to confuse you. All right? So I want to be crystal clear on that. Do your research. You might have other resources or books where you're familiar with Jinn magic. Bal Cadman has a really good book I've referenced over the years on Jinn magic. That's a good place to start. If you want to start working with the Jinn, check out his book, Jinn Magic. He gives you some good, solid, concrete information on how to work with the Jinn. That would be, not that it's just a beginner book, because it's not just beginner, but that would be a great book for you to start doing your work if you're looking for, what's a good book to begin with, to start with, that deals with a lot of good foundational practices. Well, in my opinion, that for sure would be a great place for you to start if you're looking, to get into that spectrum or that area of things, okay? So, again, be vigilant, do your research just like everything else on this path. Be smart. Don't go into it fraidy cat, scared, because that's going to fuck you up. And please don't email me, do you think I'm ready for I told you about that. I got to put that out there again. Please don't. I can't tell you if you're ready. What I can tell you is if you keep asking yourself, am I ready? Then I'm going to tell you the answer is no. Because that, to me, sets off a lot of energy of doubt and uncertainty. So if you got to keep questioning yourself, am I ready? Am I ready? More than likely, you're probably not. And again, I'm not going to be the one to tell you you are, you not, because the last thing I want is you to do something, and then if something goes wrong, You're not going to come back and say, well, you told me to do it, Baniti. No. Baniti don't tell anybody what they should or should not do. No, he doesn't. Okay? You have to make that decision for yourself. The best way to know you're ready is simple. When you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you're just confident and you're motivated and have a strong energy just to jump in and dive in and do it, you're ready, people. It's that simple. It's a feeling you get. You just know. Nobody can tell you, today's the day, I'm ready. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did, but it don't. You'll feel it. You're going to get up and go, you know what? I'm ready to do this. That's how you know you're ready. It's that simple. Okay, so I can't tell you if you're ready or not. And again, you'll never be 100% prepared to try anything. Get yourself aware to the best of your ability and trust in the knowledge you have gained and go in like a warrior. That's it. I try to keep it as simple as I can when it comes to things like that. But Baniti will not make that decision for you. You have to make that decision for yourself. All right? Well, that's going to wrap it up because I am at Planet Fitness. Got a little more running around to do. I might be able to squeeze one more in. Not sure. I might go live maybe tonight or late or tomorrow. I'm not sure. Soon I will be getting on to do a live. Again, if you're interested in taking my classes, go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Join Tier 3. If you are interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, shoot me an email at khnum19@gmail.com, and I will send you information over how to do that. Hopefully this video gave you a little more foundation on this topic, and hopefully it helps you to a certain degree. Other than that, I'm out of here. I'm going to go get my exercise on and do what I got to do. I'll talk to you people soon. Infernal blessings, and we will talk soon.